All right, we'll go ahead and get started. It's great to see many of you today. It's good to see a number of familiar faces in the audience. Welcome. For those of you who do not know me yet, my name is Destiny Magnet, and I'm the Programs and Outreach Manager for Churches for Middle East Peace. If you're new to CMEP and our work, we are a group of more than 30 ecumenical denominations, diverse across the spectrum of Christian groups here in the United States advocating for justice for Palestinians and all people who call the Holy Land home. Welcome to the third installation of our fall mini-series, Holding On in the Dark, Palestinians Pursuing Justice Under Occupation. Today, we are really grateful to be joined by Lulu Nasir, the mother of Layan Nasir, to highlight Layan's case and share some of the ways that people in the U.S. can be involved in advocating for justice for Layan and for all Palestinians being held unjustly in detention. I'm going to start today by giving you just a brief overview of the case before handing it over to my colleague Tamar Haddad, who will introduce Lulu and we'll be in conversation with her. I will say if you have questions for Lulu or for us or about these cases more broadly, we encourage you to put those into the Q&A feature, and we'll have some time for questions later in our time together. And for more on the full series, Holding On in the Dark, you can see past recordings and sign up for future episodes here. So for today's case of Layan Nasir, on April 6th, Layan, a 23-year-old Anglican Palestinian woman, was taken from her home in the early hours of the morning at gunpoint by Israeli forces. Since that time, for several months now, she has been detained without a charge and without a timeline for charges, trial, or release. The Episcopal Church, one of CMEP's member denominations, has been in touch with her and her priest and family, along with other Anglicans and Episcopalians around the community, advocating for her release, praying for her and her family and her community. We are also advocating that her priest, Father Fadi Diab, who you may have seen featured in CMEP webinars before, be able to visit her and that she be allowed to communicate with her family. So we're deeply concerned about the manner that Layan is being held, the manner she was taken, and the broader system that many thousands of Palestinians are kept in administrative detention for months and months. So this is just a bit of background on the case, but we'll get into more specifics and more details with Lulu now. And so I'm grateful now to hand the virtual microphone over to my colleague, Tamar Haddad, who is our Ansowi Rice coordinator based in Jerusalem, who has been engaged in a number of communities and church work over the years, including with the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Jordan and the Holy Land, and is a regional coordinator for the Lutheran World Federation. So Tamar, over to you.
Thank you so much, Destiny, and welcome, Lulu. We actually, about a few months ago, we had a webinar with Lulu with our board members, but we wanted to open it up because we were asked to have the public join us for this session and for Lulu to disclose more about her daughter's case. Lulu Aranki Nasir is a retired procurement supervisor with a master's degree in business administration and a proud mother of her three children, Layan and her twin brother Basil and her older brother Kamal. Lulu is an active member of the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem Board and a treasurer of St. Peter Church in Birzeit, and a member of the advisory board of Birzeit Society in the United States, Birzeit Women's Society, and the advisory board of Birzeit Cultural Center. Throughout these roles, she aims at contributing to the welfare of Palestinian civil society and the Christian community in specific. Welcome, Lulu. And I do want to note before I ask you any questions that there is the Q&A tab for anyone in the audience. We will end this session with a Q&A, so if you have any questions, please make sure to put them in the Q&A tab at the very bottom. Lulu, what can you tell us first about Layan? Who is she as a person? And then if you can tell us like what happened with her case and how did she get detained and why did that happen?
First of all, I would like to introduce Layan. Layan is a 24 years old a remarkable and ambitious young woman. She constantly sets high goals to herself and strives to achieve them while remaining humble and grounded. Her selfness is one of her most admirable traits. She often puts the needs of others before her own, generously offering her time and support to anyone in need. Incredibly loving and caring, Layan has a warm heart that draws people to her. She has a knack for making others feel valued and understood, always ready to listen and offer encouragement to everyone in need. Her kindness extended beyond her immediate circle. She actively seeks out ways to help her community, and she offers help for her friends and for her community. Layan holds a BA in nutrition and has been working in her field since her graduation, although her career has been interrupted by recent arrest. It's not easy to describe Layan while she's so far from me. Sorry for... In addition to her positive qualities, Layan is resilient and optimistic. She approaches challenges with positive attitude, believing that every obstacle is an opportunity for growth. Her determination inspires those around her, making her beloved friend and a role model for many. Layan truly embodies the spirit of kindness and love, leaving a lasting impact on everyone she meets. Now I will tell you about the case of Layan while she was arrested. Layan was first arrested 3 years ago at the age of 21 while she was a nutrition student at Birzeit University for her support of a student-led union. Layan was held for 2 months and finally released on bond for $6,500 US. But then spent 3 years in a kind legal limbo where she was neither convicted nor exonerated, but was called for regular court for hearing, where decisions regarding her case were repeatedly deferred. On the 7th of April at 5 a.m. in the morning at Palestinian time, 4 armored vehicles stormed our house with at least 20 soldiers, aggressively entered the house and held us at gunpoint, searched the house, blindfolded and handcuffed Layan, and took her in custody. Can you imagine that moment for me when they took my daughter to an unknown place, blindfolded and handcuffed? What was my feeling at that moment? There was no indication what charges they have against Layan or where she would be taken to. Layan is currently being held in Ad-Damoun prison, the main jail for Palestinian women in Israel. Conditions at Ad-Damoun and other prisons have deteriorated since the Israeli Minister for Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir, had instruction to make the life of the prisoners very hard by cutting ratios of food and not allowing clothes for the prisoners. To be honest, we are deeply worried about Layan's well-being because they are targeting the military zone in Haifa, and Ad-Damoun prison is located in the military zone in Haifa. There are no shelters for the prisoners. When the bomb is done, the prison guard went to the shelters and the prisoners stay without any protection. So this is a very dangerous situation. Then Layan was put in administrative detention for 4 months. And it was supposed to be released in August, but before 1 week of her expired date for release, they extended for 4 months. So it will be in total 8 months. It will end on December 5th with the possibility to be renewed indefinitely. The Israeli military says that Layan poses a threat to the security of the area. A statement which is both unfounded and for which no evidence had been presented. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Lulu. And I know it's hard to share all of this, especially because like your daughter has been now for 6 months in detention, and I don't know how much you
Actually,
know
7
about
months.
what is happening. 7 months. Okay, this marks the 7th month. Do you know a lot about what is happening with her? Do you have details? What is the lawyer doing? What are the updates from the lawyer? Are you able to see her and talk to her?
The jailer is not permitted to visit her. Actually, from 3 months, Layan is not visited or anybody saw her in Haifa. The only way that we can communicate when one of the prisoners is out of the prison or released, she will call me and give me one statement that Layan hugs you and says she's good, don't worry about her. This statement is a very short statement to a mother feeling that her daughter is in danger and living without her daughter. To hear just this statement, I'm good. And she sent me hugs and kisses and to all the family.
And I know that the case has been postponed once before. Was it once or twice? Because you had the case, right? And then,
Layan
yeah,
had the case from 2021 and she
okay.
kept going to the court and they postpone it every month and regularly.
The December date you mentioned, what's the likelihood that will there be a decision then? Will there be more postponement? Do you have any idea or indication from the lawyer or what that might look like?
They can't tell. She might be released or they might extend it for another 4 months. Nobody can tell.
And do you know about her conditions in detention? I know you hear like, okay, she's doing okay, and she sends you hugs and kisses and all of that. But I know from before 3 months ago when the lawyer was able to see her and talk to her, what was the case like for her? What were her detention? What did her detention look like? Did they was she in a good mental state, physical state? Have they been hurting or abusing in any form or shape at all?
They are suffering because the portion of food is very little and the rooms are very crowded. Actually, more than 12 girls in the room, which is very small rooms. They didn't give them enough clothes, just 2 pieces. Can you imagine for this long period of time with 2 pieces of clothes? And a little portion of shampoo and body shampoo and hair shampoo. And once, actually, on the 7th of October, they entered their rooms and they throw gas on them and shout on them, and it was very hard time.
And Destiny.
I know that, can you talk a little bit about how the church has been supporting you, what kind of advocacy the church has been doing, both in Jerusalem and in Palestine and Israel and in the US, and how the church has been a spiritual and advocacy support for Layan.
Our priest, Father Fadi Diab, asked for a permit to visit her at Damun prison, but they ignored it and they didn't give him the permission. And it's by law, they have to give her father to visit her, but they didn't give any attention to his request. Justin will be made a statement. I don't know if you saw her, about Layan, and asked for her soon release. Some of our members in USA Church and too did a statements on Layan case and made a petition to sign it and to send it to the Israeli government. Thank you for them all. We really appreciate their support.
Yeah, we do work with Father Diab closely, and he will be participating with us at the Ansel Rice Summit that will take place in Jericho from the 15th until the 17th of November. And he is active a lot with us. And I did want to ask you, Lulu, do we ever know the reason why Layan was actually taken in detention? Because we have heard of so many cases of young people, and doesn't matter, Christian, non-Christian, who have been taken, especially after October the 7th, 2023. Was there an actual reason, or do you think this is part of the humiliation technique that is used against Palestinians that makes them want to feel like they, should not continue to live as normal human beings?
When they took Layan on the 7th of April, they didn't tell any charges for her arrest. And if the first arrest is not related to the second arrest, because if the first arrest was they didn't leave her or released her if they have information that she is a threat for the area. So they released her on bond, but we were surprised because they arrested her again without giving any charges. And the lawyer told us they didn't give any charges to him, that why they have they arrested Layan on the 7th of April. And they kept extending the administrative detention without giving any charges.
And we know that Layan is not the only one that has been experiencing something like this. I know you said in the first webinar we did with you that there were a couple of other Christian girls that were taken with Layan. Do you have any updates on them, or are they still in detention with Layan?
Actually, from the 7th of March till the 7th of May, 5 of the girls were arrested. 3 of them were released after 3 months of detention. They kept Layan Nasir and Layan Kayed in administrative detention, and they extended for more 4 months without giving any charges.
I also do want to mention that there's the case of Shadi Khouri. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but also a young Christian Palestinian who was also taken in detention. And we are interviewing his mother, Rania Khouri, next month. So next week, I think. Maybe I could be corrected. But like, this is very common, and especially with the younger kind of active generation. But There is one question in the chat, or actually two, and I do think we should go through them. Destiny, do you have any final questions before we go ahead?
Yeah, I was just going to invite the audience if you have more questions. Jeff, I see yours. That'll be our final question in a bit. But Carol asks if there have been any hearings with U.S. Congress people and if CMEP plans to do so, or any individual Congress people working on it. And I will share, CMEP hosted Father Fadi Diab here in the States a few months ago, and he met with a number of Congress people, and Layan's case was one of the first and foremost things he raised for her release, for the case to be, moved forward, and also for him and Lulu and the rest of Layan's family to be able to visit her. So we have been facilitating a number of asks along with Congress people, and you can definitely reach out to your representatives in your congressional offices by phone, by email, especially with election season coming up. I think that's a great action you can take to call for both Layan's release and also for these basic rights to be met while she's in detention.
And there is a follow-up question to Carol's question, which is, and this is for you actually, Lulu, because sometimes like the American audience doesn't know if they should take action and not do it. So it depends on the case. Sometimes there are reasons behind it. So the question is like, should the people in this webinar right now be reaching out to their representatives about the Layan's case? Like the way they have done with the Tent of Nations. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but do you think that it would be helpful for the US people to reach out to their representatives?
Yes, this is one of the best thing they can do to reach the representatives and to put shadow on Layan's case and on all prisoners in administrative detention, because they need it, really. It will help, because when they send to their representatives about the case and other cases, and that actually more than 3,000 prisoners are in administrative detention. It's a very, very huge number. Can you imagine? So yes, it will help, I'm sure. So go for it.
And I know some people who have already been speaking on the Hill about Layan's case, so that's something that should be motivational, and hopefully it does something. And I also did want to mention one thing, which I forgot. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
And is this something that's happening often with young people? Lulu, can you speak a little more to beyond Layan's case? Are we seeing more young people detained and arrested? I know students, especially, and maybe Tamar, you want to weigh in on this as a Palestinian young person also, but in what ways is Layan's case, one of many reflecting the injustices of the Israeli system?
Yes, there is many cases of children and students at Birzeit University. Every night they arrest a number of students from Birzeit University, and there's many children in the prison. Daily they arrest people from young generation.
I did remember what I wanted to say. So like CMEP has been calling ever since October the 7th for the release of all these detainees, Palestinian detainees, because a lot of these international organizations, humanitarian organizations have been saying, hey, we want to release like the Israeli hostages. And of course, like this is something that everybody should seek. And we do seek that as well. But not many talked about the release of all the Palestinians who were in detention and for no solid reason.
We have another question about letters to the editor from Sherry. Sherry, I think that's something else that's really great to do, to write about Layan's case, to share it publicly in the US, to make more people take note of it and to be aware of it and create momentum from there. So I think that's something else really, really great that you can do from here in the US and in your community.
we need this pressure because we have still actually 1 month and with a couple of days. We need this pressure because we hope they will not extend the detention to other 4 months. And this pressure may be helpful to stop this and release her on time without any extent.
I did want to add that it doesn't matter if the reps are Zionist. And let's face it, there is a lot of AIPAC support, but that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be a push. And I think that when more than one, like when big quantities of people say the same thing over and over again, it should do something. And about the letter, could CMF draft a letter with details so we can copy and paste it as a script? If I'm not mistaken, and please Destiny correct me, I think there was a statement that we released that's about Layan.
That's I was just going to put in the chat. We uplifted the Episcopal Church statement on Layan Nasir, and it has good language. I think that's a good place to start. I'll put it in the chat here. And you can also see statements from the Archbishop of Canterbury and others who have been speaking out on Layan's behalf and for her release. And we're happy to share those resources.
And then there's another question about statistics on Palestinian detainees that they can use for the letters.
Yes, this statement, also another from the Episcopal Church, but this is the Diocese of Olympia. I'll put it in the chat as well, has some good numbers about detainees. You can also look for organizations like in our first episode, we had Jessica Montel from Hamoked that's monitoring a number of cases. They have really great data, as do organizations like Military Court Watch, which is specifically looking at detentions in the military courts in the West Bank. And so in addition to some of these church statements that have good data, I would also turn to some of those NGOs that monitor the conditions of detentions and detainees very closely. And Lulu, do you have other recommendations?
Yes, maybe a human rights organization will be helpful to interfere with the cases and to look for administrative detention.
I'll put the link for Military Court Watch here.
And I will say sometimes in our monthly bulletins to the Middle East partners, sometimes we do mention these numbers, or in our bulletins in general. So like sometimes we do mention these numbers if it was relevant.
We have a few more minutes. Any other questions? All right. And so with that, I'll turn then, Lulu, to let you have the last word. And we've talked about this a bit already, but what else can people here in the US do to support Layan and your family? What are the most immediate asks? And how can we raise this in our churches and communities better?
Advocating for Layan rights is very important. So I'm thinking of some immediate actions that may people in USA do to help for releasing Layan without extending her period in administrative detention. Maybe they will raise the awareness of Layan's case all over in USA through social media, blogs, and community forums to highlight her situation and practice what is administrative detention. This will be helpful. And maybe, as we mentioned before a couple of minutes, to contact elected officials, your Congress representatives, and US government to asking them to advocate for Layan's rights and call for her immediate release. maybe if organizing events and campaign, events focusing in human rights to raise awareness about Layan case, collaborate with the human rights organization and churches in USA, emphasizing that Layan is the only Christian girl in the prison. This might help to release her. Finally, there may be a petition in which people will start to sign the petition demanding accountability for administrative detention and asking for immediate release for Layan. Maybe these some ideas I'm sharing with you will help us.
Thank you so much, Lulu. And before we do end, there is one final question. Do you need financial assistance at all in terms of the lawyer fees? And if so, is there like a funding campaign that you're doing that you can share with the audience if they would like to help?
Thank you very much. No need for financial help. Just we need your support, your voice to release Layan. Thank you for offering this.
Thank you so much for being with us, Lulu, and we will continue to pray for Layan, for your family, for the church and the community, and for all those impacted by detentions. And in addition to prayers, of course, as you know, when we say often at CMEP, our action. And so we hope that you will pair your prayers with advocacy, whether they're in your churches or communities, calling your representatives and beyond. And I hope, in addition, you will also join us next week for our 4th session of this fall mini-series, Holding On in the Dark, Palestinians Pursuing Justice Under Occupation, which Tamar mentioned will feature Rania Khouri, the mother of Shadi Khouri, who is another young man who has faced unjust arrest and extended trials. So it's another important case to highlight, one not all that dissimilar from Layan's, and we hope you will continue to join us for this story.
You know that Shadi is Layan's cousins. Shadi grandfather is from Nasir family.
Oh my God.
We didn't know
Close to
that.
our family. Yes.
Even more.
Thank you so much, Lulu. We do appreciate your time, and we hope that this does something and allows our attendees to act upon it and take action. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time, for your support.
Thanks, everyone, for being here.